Do you have that one friend who seems to know an insufferable amount about a lot of random subjects? The person who chimes in with the odd and sometimes highly disturbing fun fact. Well, my name is Carly, and I am that friend. I often find myself wondering about topics that range from the history of certain holidays to what makes some wines expensive and some a little on the cheaper side. So I make use of that mini supercomputer I carry everywhere and just look it up. Lately, I have decided to share the random knowledge that I acquire with all of you lovely listeners. So welcome to I'm Already Looking It Up. Let's have a drink and learn a thing or two. Hello. You're listening to I Am Already Looking It Up, the podcast where I, your host, research a random topic and tell you, my lovely listeners, all about it. So without further ado, let's get started. So, today, I'm on my ADHD meds, so this is going to be fun. I have a lot of energy right now, and that is unusual, because I'm recording this after work. Anyway, so today we're going to be discussing something else that I kind of thought of as a birthday episode for my father, which is Bigfoots. Just gonna be talking about the Bigfoots. I grew up in a household that believed in Bigfoot, still do. And we used to watch those shows where they would hunt Bigfoot, but they were never going to really catch anything because if they caught something, the show was over and they'd stop making money. So, but we used to love them, and they were so much fun, and we would talk about Squatches and all that. And when I was a kid, I used to have this reoccurring nightmare that I was going to wake up and Bigfoot was going to be at my window, tapping at my window. And sometimes it was the Harry and the Hendersons Bigfoot, and sometimes it was the really scary Bigfoot from horror movies. So, thought I would share that. But me and my dad, we talk about Squatches. We like Squatches. That's what we call them. I know other people call them that, but we also call them that. So today I thought we would just do a little history, a very minute amount of history on the foot, and talk about, share some fun little cases that I found from a fun website called Woodapes.org, which is kind of a cool place, and I will be explaining more of that later, but shout out to them. I think they've got a neat a neat site going on there for the search of Squatches. All right, so this is what I pulled basically from Wikipedia about Bigfoot, because I know Wikipedia is not the best source, all right, but it's pretty accurate to what I remember. I've looked at the history of Bigfoot I don't know how many times in my life. I was one of those kids in grade school and middle school, and they would be like, oh, you gotta go check out books from the library. I would always check out the ones with, that were the nonfiction, and they would, have the big picture of Bigfoot on them, and be all about Bigfoots, or something like that, or all about Sasquatch, and, the UFO ones, and so I was that kid. I did that regularly. So, I know I have read the stories a lot. I can't really say that I know the origins by heart, because they change a lot. So, and also Bigfoot, I'll talk about this more when I talk about the website I got a lot of the, testimonials from, but Bigfoot is a lot of different things. He's a Sasquatch, he's a Yeti, at least that's what I believe. I believe Woodape is a really good term. So, alright, here we go. The Sasquatch. It is a legendary creature. Large, hairy, human-like, believed by some people to exist in the northwestern United States and western Canada. It seems to represent the North American counterpart of the Himalayan region's mythical monster, the abominable snowman, or a Yeti. The name Sasquatch derives from the Salish word I can't say that. I could spell it. SE''SXAC, which means wild men. The creature is also commonly called Bigfoot. We love Bigfoots. The British explorer David Tomlinson is sometimes credited with the first discovery in 1811 of a set of Sasquatch footprints and hundreds of alleged prints. Hundreds of alleged prints have been adduced since then. I actually don't know what that means. Probably like found, deduced, maybe? I don't know. The Sasquatch legend grew in 1924 after 5 gold prospectors claimed to have had a violent encounter with gorilla men in a gorge. Funny how they say gorilla men, plural. Now called Ape Canyon, on Mount St. Helens, Washington. After the prospectors wounded one of the creatures during the day, the mountain devils returned that night, pelting the prospectors' cabin with boulders and repeatedly ramming the structure. Oh, that's where they went. If you can't tell, I watch like so much. I watch a lot of Watcher. I listen to a lot of Chilluminati. And Watcher, Ryan and Shane from Watcher have actually been to Ape Canyon, and I remember that because he always mentions Ryan wearing a little hard hat because he didn't want to get hit with the boulders, which is fair. I would love to visit there. That'd be cool. Where is this at? Mount St. Helens, Washington. Okay, I have to remember that. Another one for the bucket list. I should start making a bucket list. Okay, so, and they repeatedly rammed the structure. Okay, I said that. When the attack ended at daylight, the prospectors fled. Although their account was later discredited by U.S. forest rangers, who notably proved that the footprints were fake, the story spread. Subsequent sightings and even alleged photographs and filmings, notably by Roger Patterson at Bluff Creek in California in 1967, have also contributed to the legend, though none of the purported evidence has been verified. Or they won't verify it because they're cowards. This is like my one, like, I believe in ghosts and stuff, but like Bigfoot is my one, like, real conspiracy thing that I'm like, yeah, Bigfoot exists. Like, I will fight people. I don't know why. I want it to exist. Alright, so, a footprint that some claim was made by a Sasquatch in Rogue Park, Ontario. Oh, that's just photos that I don't have in here. It's fine. Sasquatch is variably described as a primate ranging from 6 to 15 feet to 4.5 meters, thank you, tall, standing erect on 2 feet, often giving off a foul smell and either moving silently or emitting a high-pitched cry. Footprints have measured up to 24 inches in length and 8 inches in width. A Soviet scientist, Boris Porshnev, suggested that Sasquatch and his Siberian counterpart, the Almas, could be a remnant of Neanderthals, but most scientists do not recognize the creature's existence. Instead, it is thought to be a hoax or an animal, possibly a bear. Dope. Except it's not, because you all are cowards. Anyway, so this is the last part of what they had in Wikipedia. Pop culture. We love pop culture. Sasquatch is a popular character in media and entertainment. In addition to a number of horror films, it has inspired comedies such as Harry and the Hendersons, heck yeah, and Sasquatch Sunset. I didn't realize that this movie, oh my god, okay, hold on. Sasquatch Sunset 2024, this just came out on Amazon Prime. Someone please watch this movie so I know if I should watch it or not. The creature is also a frequent topic of books, many of which are written by those claiming to have evidence of its existence, and various businesses have used Sasquatch in commercials and ads. Okay, so when I was really bored, I think it was Monday night, and I was just kind of scrolling through Amazon Prime, like trying to decide if I should watch something off it, watch a movie, I don't know, brain. And I'm like digging deeper into the movie pile, and I'm like, man, Amazon Prime has some weird movies, and a lot of them are horror based, And the one horror one that I remember is called Good Boy. And if you haven't heard of this, please look it up, because it's amazing. I didn't watch it, but I legitimately was like, maybe I kind of want to watch this. Like, it seems really, like, creepy. So Good Boy is about a lady who decides to go on a date with a guy, and she's like, man, this guy, he's perfect. Everything I need and want. And when he invites her home after the date to do the do, she's like, do you live alone? And he's like, no, I've got a dog. And she's like, okay, got a dog. Cool. So they get to his house, as far as I can tell from the commercial, or the trailer. They get to his house, they do the do, because they do. And she wakes up to see this man dressed in a dog costume. And I'm like, oh God, what? So, I don't really know what the rest of the story is, but basically this guy is like, she's like, that's not a man, like, that's not a dog, that's a guy in a dog costume. And he's like, no, it's very, very important that you treat him like a dog. Do not treat him as a human. And his name is Frank, I think, from what I remember. So yeah, that's what I gleaned from that. And there's some weird stuff that happens. I'm not sure if the guy in the dog costume is supposed to be the bad guy, or the guy who took her home is the bad. I don't know. Who knows? You gotta watch it to find out. And I kind of want to watch it, but I don't at the same time. Because the dog costume it's wild looking. Like, oh my God. It's actually kind of, it's good, but it's not at the same time. It's hard to explain because it's like that, I just had it in my head. Uncanny Valley thing where it's like, that's not a dog. But it does kind of look enough like a real dog. You're like from far away, maybe that would look like a dog. But yeah, okay. So, on to the sightings and talking about this website. So, like I said before, sorry for that, just because Sasquatch Sunset, I brought that up because Sasquatch Sunset was the other weird movie that I was looking through, and I saw that and I was like, what is this? And I looked at it and I was like, man, that seems kind of cool. I might watch it. And I didn't, because I am a coward who has anxiety about watching new things. So there you go. Anyway, so on to sightings that have been recorded on this wonderful website. Like I said, woodape.org. That is woodape.org. And this has organized sightings of Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Woodape, which I do really love the term Woodape for the man. It seems very general. It could be anywhere. So it's a conservancy, and it is all volunteer run, nonprofit. Pretty cool, honestly. I was like, if I ran a website on Bigfoot sightings, this is how I would do it. And they have all these sightings, and they're separated into different classifications, years, states where they took place, it's so very well organized, and I was kind of impressed. Not saying that people who like Bigfoot can't be organized, not what I'm saying at all, or believe that Bigfoot exists can't be organized. I'm just saying it looked real nice and legitimate, and I appreciate that. Okay. So I was going to read the little blurb that they have about the website. So the North American Woodape Conservancy is a scientific research organization dedicated to studying the North American woodape, the animal many people call Bigfoot or Sasquatch. We are an all-volunteer, non-profit, 501c3. I don't know what that means. Should have looked it up. organization with members from all over the world and from all walks of life. So, pretty fucking cool. They actually have people who will go out and like investigate sightings and interview people and like go to places. And I think that's neat. I was like, you know, if I had money to support it, I totally would throw a donation their way, because that's cool. I mean, because it's not. I know a lot of people treat Bigfoot as this kooky kind of conspiracy. I mean, not even really a conspiracy. It's just like this kind of legend / myth, whatever you want to call it, in North America. I mean, and it's all over the world. There's so many, and I think it's interesting the people who take it very seriously and think of it as like this big discovery of a scientific animal, because we really, honestly, our world is so intense and so insane that I feel like this could exist. It's not. Bigfoot is tangible. He's not that far out of the realm of fantasy. So that's why I thought this was cool. So they have classifications. And I wrote them down because they don't. I didn't see if they had like a listing of them, but I did have to like pull up a little blurb about each one. So I wrote them down in a way I could understand it. So basically, there's 3 classes, and then classes 1 and 3 have letters for different things, and then class 2 doesn't have any letters. I'm not sure why that is, but this is what I wrote down for each one. So class 1, corroboration reports involving a sighting and accompanied by another form of support. So someone who is like, yep, saw a Sasquatch, and another person is like, yep, me too, with that same person. So class 1A is a Sasquatch / Bigfoot specimen has been collected alive or dead. Class 1B is a report investigation that results in a Sasquatch observation or the documentation of clear tracks or other forms of physical evidence by an investigator. Class 1C is an investigator determines that a visual encounter with a Sasquatch / Bigfoot by a very reliable observer is a distinct possibility, tangible, corroborating evidence is documented, and all other sources can be ruled out. And then Class 1D is a visual encounter with a Sasquatch / Bigfoot is a distinct possibility involving 2 or more reliable observers, and all other sources can be reasonably ruled out. All right, pretty simple. So that's Class 1. Class 2, which is just all by itself, reports involving sightings by professionally trained or highly skilled observers. So I'm guessing, so here's a little blurb about it. And the investigator determines that a visual encounter with a Sasquatch / Bigfoot is a distinct possibility. The observer is exceptionally trustworthy, professionally trained, and experienced in the outdoors and/or is accustomed to looking for and recording details and other explanations can be reasonably excluded. So that's Class 2. Pretty, very detailed person who knows what they're doing, pretty much. Class 3, sightings or possible wood ape evidence reported by credible witnesses. So Class 3A is investigator determines that a visual encounter with a Sasquatch / Bigfoot is a distinct possibility. The observer is credible, and all other sources can be reasonably ruled out. Class 3B is unidentifiable vocalizations were reported, and there is accompanying tangible evidence to possibly indicate the presence of a Sasquatch / Bigfoot. The observer is very reliable, and other sources can be reasonably ruled out. And then the last one is Class 3C. No visual encounter occurred, but physical evidence was found to indicate the presence of a Sasquatch / Bigfoot, tracks, hair, or scat. The observer is very reliable, and other sources can be reasonably ruled out. So there's our classifications. And I thought it was cool. I was like, I like that they sorted it all out. They They have a system, and that's really cool. I truly, truly admire that. So, woodape.org, if you ever hear this, I really do. I think your website is amazing. I saved it in my bookmarks even to be like, I will look at this later. So here's the first witness account that I found. This is the oldest one they had, and because I thought it would be cool to go back to the oldest one they had. Well, here it is. I'll just read it. The incident occurred in 1917 to my paternal grandmother and members of her family. She was 18 at the time, and the family lived somewhere near Sulphur River Bottom in extreme East Texas, southwest of Texarkana. Based on my recollection of what had been told to me over the years, she died in 1975, most of my grandmother's family lived in and around the Atlanta/Queen City area south of the Sulphur River, and at the time in question, she and her immediate family were living in a farmhouse somewhere west of Queen City and south of Sulphur River, where Lake Wright-Patman is today. Her family apparently moved around quite a bit in that area, and it's hard to pinpoint the exact location of the farmhouse. My grandmother was always referring to Knight's Bluff in her many stories. I'm not exactly sure of the location of Knight's Bluff. I believe it doesn't exist anymore. Could have been submerged by the lake. And that in my lifetime, I've never heard of it except for in the references of my grandmother and father. I remember my grandmother telling how they, mother, father, and some combination of her many brothers and sisters, were coming home from town on a bright moonlit night in summer, and on one occasion, I recall she specifically mentioned Knight's Bluff as being that town. And since they were riding in a mule-drawn wagon, I suspect that they were somewhere within 8 to 12 miles from Knight's Bluff. Wherever that was. She said that they turned into the lane leading to the house. One detail I seem to recall is that she referred to the pasture to the right as the east pasture, implying that the lane led north to the farmhouse. According to her, the first indication that there was a problem was that the mules were acting up. She said her daddy said something about a snake. Then they heard something, I honestly don't recall her exact words, screaming, squalling, a high-pitched eerie wail. Those are my words. The reader's words. Or the reporter's words. Anyway. The moon was high. The night was flooded with bright moonlight. The tree line beyond the east pasture where the sounds were coming from was very black in contrast. She said they watched as a tall figure came out of the trees and stood full in the moonlight. It was as tall or taller than a man and covered with long dark hair. I do remember that my grandmother said it stood absolute erect and walked slowly toward them, like a man, not slouching, like an ape. All the time, it was howling and shrieking and motioning angrily at them. Her father fired a shot at this thing, and it turned and ran back into the woods. Getting to the house, my grandmother said the dogs were all cowed under the porch. They barricaded the doors and spent a fearful, though uneventful night. The next day and several days thereafter, her father, brothers, and neighbors ranged through the woods looking for any sign of the thing, blood, fur, tracks, but nothing was ever found. This is probably the most interesting of the old tales my grandmother and father told me over the years, and that it was the only story in which a creature of this type was seen clearly. There are many other intriguing tales, including one where I was present, but I was only 6, and as I told Mr. Woolheater, these stories, except the one I was present, were all told to me many long years ago, and thus are very unscientific. So it notes the sounds, the screaming, squalling, even in my recollection, wailing. Okay, so some cases whistling. So it notes the sounds. It says that the investigator, it has like a little observation blurb, which is so, I love that too. It's like just them writing their opinion and how they came up with the classification based on what they've heard, and that's pretty neat. So, the investigator was Charles DeVore. This investigation was conducted as a result of incidents that allegedly occurred in Cass County, Texas, involving a family over a period of many years. I spoke with the sighting reporter due to the nature of this report being relayed to him by his grandmother, who had since passed away. He had little further information to add except to emphasize that the subject reportedly seen by the family was said to be very large. He arrived at the year of the sighting being 1917, as his grandmother was pregnant with his father at the time. His father was born in 1918. It was such a frightening experience that all the family worried that it would affect the baby. Of course, the worries were for nothing. Further research reveals that Knight's Bluff still exists. It is on the south side of Lake Wright-Patman and at the water's edge. It is located in what is now Atlanta/Queen City Park. Back in the early 1900s, it was a small community. Pretty cool. Other related events, when the witness was very young, his father came running home from hunting alone in the Antioch community just south of Knight's Bluff. He was ghost white and obviously very frightened. He had reportedly encountered a large hairy booger. The witness's father was so upset about the incident that he would never discuss it with his family and get very upset if anyone mentioned it in later years. The father apparently confided in one of his cousins, who later described it as a Bigfoot. In 1956, when the witness was 6 years old, he was very excited to be taken on a night hunt with the men of the family. This hunt also took place around Antioch community south of the Sulphur River, northwest of Atlanta/Queen City, Texas. On a creek bank, the group encountered a very large footprint that looked like a barefooted human, except much too large to be a human. The group stood around the footprint, looking at it by the light of the kerosene lanterns and discussing what it might be. The adults used it to reinforce their insistence that the kids keep up and not lag behind, or something might get them. Because of this, I have determined this report to be classified as 3C. So yeah, I think that's so cool that they, like I said, they have a classification system and they explain it, and why they're classifying a certain story in a certain way. So this is a 3C story, which is super neat. This one, the witness account is super short, so bear with me, but I kind of just, so I read that one ahead of time. The other ones, I kind of just I was like, I'll just grab them from certain years and stuff, and then, I just wanted to, kind of cold read them, because I love hearing Bigfoot stories, obviously. My son and his friend were out spotlighting rabbits. They saw the animal running or loping with very long gray hair and long arms. They were about 100 yards away from the animal and picked it up in the spotlight only briefly. Said it was moving fast and crossed a barbed wire fence without making a sound. So he notes the physical evidence. Too scared to look. The boys were both 16 years old at the time of the sighting. No sounds. They were too far away. And no additional observations. So the investigator is Craig Woolheater. This report was published as a result of an investigation into an incident that allegedly occurred in Anderson County, Texas in February of 1998. The witness parents saw the special report with Joanna Fitzgerald on NBC 56, Tyler Longview, about the NAWAC, and reported Bigfoot sightings in East Texas. They contacted us after they viewed the program and put us into direct contact with their son, one of the actual witnesses. I interviewed the son on the evening of 7 August 2002. He explains to me that sometime after Valentine's Day in February in 1998, he and some friends were out at a family's cabin, which is about 16 miles outside of Palestine. I didn't know there was a Palestine in the United States. Weird. He remembered that it was early morning around 2 a.m. There was a quarter moon and a light fog on the ground to about 2 feet above the fog. Visibility was crystal clear, and it has question marks around it. I think those are supposed to be quotations, actually. The witness recalled that he and another friend were sitting in his friend's track hunting rabbits. They were slowly fanning the spotlight around, looking for the next rabbit to shoot. When just on the outside edge of the light, they could see something that was about 8 feet tall running ahead of the light. It also appeared to have grayish-brown hair with long arms. The witness distinctively remembered the shape of the torso and head, but could not provide any detailed descriptive information. He remembered the subject running 20 to 30 yards ahead of them and crossing a 5-strand barbed wire fence without hesitation or sound. No scents or sounds were detected during the incident, which lasted about 3 to 5 seconds. The witnesses continued to sit in the truck in stunned silence for a few moments, then left the area quickly as they could. Neat. He doesn't say what classification it is or why he classifies it that way, because it does say it at the top of each sighting, but since I copied and pasted these into a Word doc, I don't have that because I didn't copy and paste that part, but it's fine. So that's cool. Again, it's just like very detailed. They go over it, they explain it. I love it. It's great. And they do follow-up work. Like the dad told the story, obviously, and gave the initial report, but then they followed up with the son to get his actual report. So that's pretty cool. So the next one, my sighting happened on November 21st. I don't know why I said that. 2002. On or about 7:30 a.m. in Catoosa, Rogers County, Oklahoma. I work in a dental office and happened to look out of the window and saw what I automatically knew to be a Bigfoot/Sasquatch walking beside an abandoned house. It was very dark brown or nearly black, thick neck with broad shoulders, and had a wide skull. It was at least 7 feet tall. I only saw the backside of the animal. I can best describe it as a primate-looking animal that stood more upright than a gorilla, but somewhat stooped. It slowly swung its arms and had a slight knee bend. So no hand or footprints, no sounds, additional observations, none. I had not seen anything about the Bigfoot or heard anything. It just happened, and I knew instantly what it was. No other witnesses, but I immediately called for my coworkers and told them to come quickly that I had just seen a Bigfoot. Wonder how that went over. This is the same guy who observed, is it Daryl? Hold on. I gotta know. No. Okay, so these are actually 3 different people observing. Cool. Okay, so this is Daryl Collier. This guy has a bulleted list, and I love a bulleted list. So, this investigation was conducted as a result of a reported Sasquatch sighting that allegedly occurred in Rogers County, Oklahoma, on the outskirts of Catoosa, Oklahoma, on 21 November 2002. I talked to the observer about her report. She was adamant about what she saw and was able to provide me with the following additional details. The subject appeared to have a swayed back. It took long strides as it walked away. It swung its arms wildly. The subject was at a distance of about 30 to 40 yards. It had a quick pace. It was extremely broad in width. From the vantage point of the witness, the subject's abdominal areas seemed to slightly bulge. She did not see the face and could not provide details about the hands or feet. No one thought to look for tracks afterwards. Yeah, why didn't you go over to the house and look for tracks? That makes sense. Anyway, the witness told me that until her sighting, she had never really thought much about the subject. However, she said the figure that she saw was instantly recognizable to her as Bigfoot. She said that she wasn't really afraid when she saw it, but she did get excited. Nice. The witness told me that the animal was walking beside an old, dilapidated house. The subject's head was just below the fascia, which would have indicated a height of 7 to 8 feet. The witness's husband urged her to report her sighting. Her coworkers still make light of her sighting, but the witness empathetically told me that she is not prone to making up stories. She saw what she saw. All right. You go, lady. I believe you. I believe you saw what you saw. I have to look up that area, though, because, like, if it's, like, near towns and stuff, that's... Whew. All right. And I think this is the last one I have. And I think, yeah, it's pretty long. So we had a couple little shorties and a couple long ones. So here we go. This one is the most recent that I pulled. I think there's one that's more... There are probably some that are more recent, but it was kind of on the, like, first page, and I was like, all right, let's do this. All right, here we go. Witness account. Until this happened, I did not believe or accept the existence of a large bipedal animal. My husband and I are long-distance hikers and have twice spent 6 months sleeping in the wilderness in a tent hiking from Mexico to Canada, so they would know. This day, we were hiking in an uninhabited Trinity County, California area. We both heard an unfamiliar animal or bird calling. I was the only one who saw anything when I looked for the source of the sound and saw an animal licking water from the opposite bank of the creek, 20 feet below me and about 30 feet away. No ears were visible, just a round black head. The animal sensed me and looked up. When this animal saw me, its eyes widened in fear, and its call changed to one of fear. It began running on all fours, on hands and feet with knees bent. It went up a steep hill, trying to stay low and hide, running first to the left, then doubling back towards the right, kind of like a Z. I am in shock, but still hiking while trying to catch a glimpse and figure out what I am seeing running out the opposite bank on the mountainside. My view is partially obstructed by fir trees and debris. Suddenly, it turns uphill, goes upright on two legs, and is running quickly straight up the mountainside. I kept walking and now had a clear, unobstructed view of its back. It had short black hair, tall and skinny. The legs were about 4 feet long and thin, not touching the crotch. Okay. No penis or testicles were... I thought we were not touching the crotch. No, I'm kidding. No penis or testicles were visible. Round head, no visible ears. Ran like a human, fast and swinging arms, all the while fearfully calling out to another one I couldn't see. This occurred about 1.5 miles from my home. The next 2 nights, I was awakened at night by a foul smell. I know what I didn't see. This was not a bear, deer, or elk, all of which are common in the area. I spend a tremendous amount of time hiking to stay in shape, and I am presently training to hike the AT in 2023. Good for you. I hope you did. We are familiar with local wildlife and had never heard of this animal before or since. After a great deal of thought, I am of the opinion that it was a young female being given the opportunity to go alone and get a drink. She was calling out her location when we heard her calls, about 6 of them. When she saw me, she was terrified and ran back to her parents crying out the way any child would. I am a mother, and I instinctively recognize the cry. Fair enough. Her parents tracked us to our home to investigate the threat we posed to their offspring. This animal exhibited both human behaviors / emotions, but looked like an animal. The area where this occurred is located between Highway 299 to the north of Hayfolk, California, to the south. This area is basically 175 miles of uninhabited forests, steep terrain, some meadows, and streams with elevations from 500 feet to above 6,000 feet. Follow-up, in July of 2022, I was awakened by a foul smell, as was my sister-in-law in another nearby residence. Where I live consists seasonally, rarely used homes. The trail we were hiking on is private, one we maintain, and is only used by us. Usually we are gone in the summer months, but in 2020 we were home because of COVID. Sounds, unfamiliar calls, about 6, followed by urgent calling, about 10. Additional observations, the 2 nights following the incident, awakened by foul odor, occurred again in July 2022. Cool. That is a lot. Damn. So that's also cool because she's like kind of giving her credentials, like, I am out in the wilderness all the time, a lot. And this is nothing. I've never seen anything like this. So, pretty cool. The investigators were Bob Strain and Kathy Strain. This investigation was conducted as a result of an incident that allegedly occurred in Trinity County, California in June 2020. In a WAC, investigators Bob and Kathy Strain interviewed the primary witness via telephone on December 28th of 2022. These additional details can be added. The reported sighting occurred at approximately 10 a.m. on 20th of June 2020 in a gray area of a superior habitat. The witness is adamant that the subject was licking water from the creek and was not using its hands to assist in drinking. When the subject saw her, its eyes got very large and she was able to see the whites of the eyes and black pupils. She described the face as more human-like than ape-like and dark in color. As the subject ran up the hill, it was on all fours. She could not see the hands because it was behind a fallen log, and therefore she could not tell how much the hands were helping in getting up the slope. The witness recalled that its knees were bent. I said keys. Oh my God. Its knees were bent. God damn. I lost my spot. Its knees were bent, but its rear end was not higher than the shoulders. The hair was a matte finish and not shiny at all. When it stood up, she estimated its height to be 6 feet tall. That night, she smelled an odor coming in through the open window. It smelled like a very foul human body odor. She looked outside, but did not see anything. Post-publishing addendum, the smell was the only indication of visitation to her residence those 2 nights. She reported no sounds or visuals. She said that it was warm weather and that she slept with her bedroom window open whenever possible. She described the odor as similar to when she and her husband encountered a hiker on a trail that had not recently bathed or washed. As for the parents following her home, she surmised this after reading up on the subject of Bigfoot, which became an obsession for her following these occurrences. The witness surmised that the animals tracked her by her scent because she had stopped along the trail home to urinate. Oh, lovely. We told her they probably followed her home while watching her, and that they may well have just been familiar with the smell of group homes where she lived and were just curious. The vocals she initially heard are reminiscent of the so-called Tahoe scream, which included 2 individuals calling back and forth. She thought it was some kind of bird that she was hearing. We could not get her to try and mimic the call or even describe it further other than say it sounded frantic as it ran off. We believe the target species is much more vocal in the Pacific Northwest than in the North American interior highlands. So there you go. These are cool. I would sit down and read so many of these. I'm not even kidding. Like, honestly, if you want me to do a podcast where I just fucking read these, all day, I'd do it, honestly. Like, these are cool. I love the way they're broken down and love how they, go back and, they really, really do their best to say, this could not have been anything else. Or, even in the ones that, there's not a lot of evidence, they're it could have been something else. It seems so credible and so well done and put together. I'm just in awe of this. I love it. I also love the stories. I think they're great. That would be terrifying. Like I said, I use that reoccurring nightmare that I used to have about waking up and Bigfoot staring at me. It was real, man. I would wake up and I would be terrified to look at the window. And I actually know exactly where it stems from. And I don't get it anymore as much. Every once in a while, I still have, the weird nagging fear of it. But I know it stems from, I don't remember, okay, so I think I was in, 4th grade. And we read books. Our teacher would read us books. Maybe this was 3rd grade. I don't know. Our teacher would read us books, and they were usually, chapter books. And she would read them to us. And I don't remember the name of this book because my family moved around a lot when I was a kid. So I kind of came into this book, I think, at the very end of it. So I don't actually know the context of any of this. And I don't remember the title of the book. If anybody remembers, please feel free to tell me. But basically, from what I gather, so they were reading this book, and I, sat down to listen. And in the book, the main character is in their bed. I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl or whatever, or any of that. Neither or both. They were in their bed, and they lived kind of at the edge of this big mountain. And in the middle of the night, the main character woke up to a tapping sound on their window. Like 3 little taps, tap, tap, tap. I remember very clearly this. I don't know why I don't remember anything else about this book, but I remember this because it scared the shit out of me. But tap, tap, tap. And so, the narrator wakes up, looks at the window, here's the tap, 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 nothing there, tries to go back to sleep, hears it again, looks up, and there's this big shadowy figure at their window. And to my little brain, where, and in a household where we were like, Bigfoots are real, and Yetis are real, I was imagining some Yeti had come down from the snowy mountains, because I used to live in Colorado at that point. The mountains were always, not always, but they were snowy. That's what I knew about them. And yeah, I imagined a big Yeti coming down, tapping on the window, just being there. And that was so scary to me. And I had so many bad up until about I think probably college, I had these nightmares and I would just wake up and be like, don't look out the window, don't look out the window, don't look out the window. So there's my Bigfoot trauma. But I honestly still love this. I think this is great. I love this website. Again, woodape.org. If you're into reading about sightings and all that, it's an excellent source. I was so happy to have found it. I thought it was really, really cool. And yeah, that's Bigfoot for you. So we will just go ahead and leave that there for today. If you want me to do another episode on Bigfoot, types of Bigfoots, all that fun stuff, let me know, because I would be interested in researching this more, and putting it in my adult brain and not in my kid brain. So yeah. But that's where we'll leave it for today. Thank you for taking the time to listen. And if you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe and share it. It really helps me out. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. I do want to add on the end of this, and I really need to put this in my outro. If you want to maybe give me a little support, you don't have to. I do have a full-time job. This is completely a hobby to me. But if you wanted to support me just a little bit, or you just really like it and you want to give me a tip, that's fine. You can go to my Patreon. It's Wild Forest Productions, and wild is spelled with a Y, so WYDLE. Wait, WYLDE. Yeah, sorry, WYLDE. Forest Productions at patreon.com. You can also. I do have an Etsy, and if you also wanted to support me in some ways, I do take requests, but I mostly make sublimation mugs, where I design a thing and I put it on a mug and I try to sell it, and that's a lot of fun. I do take requests, so if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them, or have anything you'd like specifically for someone, you can go to Empress Crafts on Etsy.com. I'm also on the Facebooks. You can check me out on either of those, and the Instagrams, either of those, and my Twitter, which is Empress Wild. So yeah, go check it all out. That is all linked in the card in the description. So if you want to do that, please do. I would very much appreciate it. Also, if you wouldn't mind going to Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatever. And my show is on there, so if you could please like it, rate it 5 stars, give a good review if you enjoy it. Rate it whatever you want. You don't have to rate it, but I would appreciate it if you did. and you followed it on there, that'd be great. You don't have to listen to it on there, but please help me. No, I really just want to build a fun community that just talks about weird random crap. So honestly, like, if you enjoy that kind of stuff, just like, spread the word, share it, like it, all that stuff. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to I'm Already Looking It Up. If you're enjoying the podcast, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, you can go to my Patreon at patreon.com/wildforestproductions. Don't forget to check out all the social links below. Thank you!